So as you can see, we love genre fusion, we love pop, we love rock, we love gospel, we love spirituals. You heard spirituals this morning, but we also love jazz. Anybody a fan of the late Chick Corea? The late Chick Corea? Yes, he's one of our favorites as well. Also in the early founding years of the String Queens, we decided, actually Elise decided, Spain is one of her favorite pieces by Chick Corea. Literally brings her to tears. I think the very first time we played it, in rehearsal, you had a moment, which is beautiful. Sitting on stage. If you haven't heard Spain, you're in for a treat, but if you have, we hope you enjoy our arrangement of Chick Corea's Spain.
hope that the students feel a sense of accomplishment. I hope they feel proud about what they created. I hope they feel like they, really can do anything.
I want to dance for the rest of my life because I've been doing it up until now, so I still want to do it forever.
You taught me this in Dance 1, that dance is like a universal language.
And over time, I've really realized that my role here has become not necessarily teaching them about the art form of dance, but using dance as a way to understand yourself in the world. And when you understand yourself, then you are able to do more.
So I can say personally, the connection you have with your students and that you want them to do better. You want them to push. You don't want them to fall under any category. You want them to push forward, and her sense of being a community. I'm about to cry. You can really see that. You want to be a community, and you push for that. You push for your students so they can have a community. I told you Dance Ensemble is family. So you push for that. You push for the family. You push for us being together, even though times may be hard, the being there, present in time and space, was really something that I appreciate.
Life is gonna go back to normal, and what you gonna do when you look back from 4 years in high school and you know you didn't still push yourself?
Enjoy the moments, enjoy what you have, be here, be grateful for what you have, because we couldn't have done this, we didn't have to do this, or we were probably wouldn't be able to do this.
COVID kind of makes you do things you don't want to do, or forces you outside of your comfort zone a little bit.
Be open, be different. It's okay to not just think everything's gonna be one way. It's okay to change.
I grow every day, so it's not like I'm just stuck in one position. I've learned a lot about myself through this whole experience.
It takes confidence to be a leader, to be able to step out in front of people and say, this is the way that this should be done. Because you have to be able to take criticism from people doing that as well, because everyone's looking to you.
If you ask for things, if you are open and you're willing to put yourself out there just a little bit, that things will come to you.
Challenges do not change who you are. They reveal who you are. And what this has revealed is that during this time of great challenge, creativity still happens. Creativity still emerges. And that has been a very cool thing. So this challenge has not changed who we are, it's just revealed who we are.
To our entire Columbus City Schools community. My name is Malin Damashi, and I'm a student at Northland High School. Before we begin tonight's Board of Education business meeting, I invite you to check out these highlights and updates from across the district.
Hello, and welcome to this week's Columbus Board of Education meeting highlights. June is Pride Month, and coming up next Saturday, June 17th, is the Columbus Pride March. Join CCS students, teachers, staff, family, and allies as we march through downtown Columbus as part of the 2023 Stonewall Columbus Pride March and Community Festival. This is an event you will not want to miss. Today is National Higher Education Day, which recognize the importance of higher education in our lives. Many of our CCS students are now on their way to pursue their dreams of higher education in the fall, with this year's seniors overall earning more than $33 million in scholarship and aid money. Each day, these awards will continue to increase. I can't wait to see how many scholarships our graduating class earns to help them on their academic journey. Also, coming up next week is 614 Day, and we will be celebrating with CCS families and the Columbus crew at Northgate Intermediate School from 3 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday, June 14th. This is sure to be an epic event where the crew will bring the community together by hosting free-to-play soccer sessions to celebrate our city and ensure soccer is accessible to all. Stay tuned for more information on this incredible event. It's officially summer break for many students on the traditional school calendar, and the last day for Woodcrest year-round school is coming up too. The last few weeks of school have offered many opportunities to celebrate the academic milestones of our students. Last week, we celebrated the Columbus City Schools class of 2023. I was honored to be a part of some of our students' special days, having the opportunity to introduce the graduating classes at South High School, Columbus Online Academy, and Marion Franklin High School. Our seniors have persevered through many challenges, including beginning their high school career during the global pandemic. Throughout their journey, they have overcome these challenges and demonstrated many of the Portrait of a Graduate attributes, showing great adaptability and critical thinking as they made their way to graduation. To navigate these challenges and make it to this significant milestone is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations to the CCS class of 2023. Some of these seniors will be heading into their next step of their academic journey with the help of I Know I Can. Recently, we celebrated 27 of our CCS scholars who received the I Know I Can Founder Scholarships. These scholarships are worth up to $10,000 per academic year for up to 4 years. Students have worked hard and dreamed big to get to this point. Good luck wherever your journey takes you next. From our graduating class to our earliest learners, I'm so excited about all of our students' achievements and milestones. We've marked the occasion for our pre-K students making that big jump to kindergarten, our 5th graders preparing for middle school, and our middle schoolers getting ready for high school. Throughout the last week, we've had several promotion ceremonies, clap-outs, and award ceremonies celebrating our students' accomplishments. Congratulations to our CCS students, no matter where they are in their academic journey. Columbus City Schools middle and high school students recently were honored for their outstanding achievements in the recent Columbus Youth Foundation Best All-Around Student. The recent ceremony celebrated 2 students from every middle school and high school. Student award selections were based on a variety of criteria, including academic performance, extracurricular activities, community service, and leadership qualities. Great job to these outstanding students. I also want to shout out to participants in the Columbus Journalism Training Bootcamp, which recently wrapped up. This is a free multi-week journalism training program sponsored by the Columbus Dispatch. The program gives CCS students the opportunity to experience intensive and interactive exercises guided by professionals in the media world. I know our students gain valuable experience from this program, and we are grateful for the Columbus Dispatch for this opportunity. Additionally, I want to recognize our staff who have worked so hard this school year and every year. Recently, we got the chance to celebrate our CCS educators who completed their first year of service in our district. Led by the Department of Academic Services and its peer assistance and review team, the celebration honored program participants who may be new to the field or experienced teachers who completed their first year in CCS. I want to thank our educators for all that they have done, and again, good work on completing your first year of service. I'm looking forward to spending time with many of our students and staff at this year's summer experience, which is sure to be full of unique hands-on learning opportunities. Of course, if you are not participating in summer experience, There are still ways to learn and engage through many different programs throughout our city. There are opportunities through the City of Columbus Parks and Recreation. Also, the Columbus Metropolitan Library Summer Reading Challenge is underway to keep your child's reading skills strong throughout the entire summer break. Thank you to our staff who have worked tirelessly throughout the year to get students to the point of all these major milestones. Over the summer, we have support resources available for you. Hopefully, summer brings opportunities to unwind, focus on well-being, and find moments of joy. Go out there and make positive choices so we can come back ready to learn and start the school year off on the right foot. Even though schools are closed, we will still have our student health clinics and have many community partners that are opening their doors to provide safe spaces for all our students over the summer. As part of the Summer Experience program, we provide free breakfast and lunch, but there are also safe neighborhood sites where students can get free meals throughout the summer at various recreation and park sites. For more information, visit the Columbus Recreation and Parks Summer Food website or call 866-348-6479. I sincerely hope that everyone has a safe and positive summer break. These have been highlights from around the district for the June 6th Columbus City Schools Board meeting.
Good evening, everyone. I am calling our June 6, 2023 regular business meeting of the Columbus Board of Education to order. Will you please call the roll?
President Adair.
Present.
Ms. Beckerly.
Present.
Mr. Brown.
I'm here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
Dr. Pierce.
Present.
Ms. Reyes. Here. Vice President Vera.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt our agenda, the first order of business is to appoint a treasurer pro temp because our treasurer is not here. I make a motion to appoint Vice President Christina Vera, treasurer pro temp for the evening.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Board members, on this evening's agenda, we have 3 individuals signed up for public speaking. We are expecting a report from our superintendent's office. We have notice of public hearing for 2 individuals. We have our consent agenda, and we will have an executive session. Is there a motion to approve?
Adopt the agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion, a second. Any discussions or changes? Seeing none and without objection, the agenda has been adopted. So we will go ahead and jump into our public comment period. Speakers have 3 minutes to address the board. Our first speaker is President Nana Watson from the NAACP. Topic, public records request, action requested. I would like the board to be consistent with public records. President Watson.
Good evening, President Adair, members of the board, and Superintendent Chapman. I am certain that you are aware that the NAACP filed a public record request with the Ohio Court of Claims Public Record Access formal complaint. This undoubtedly could have been avoided had there been transparency and timely responses to our informational request. On March the 9th, 2023, the NAACP sent a public records request for emails beginning January 2023 to present, transmitted from and to former Superintendent Dixon. No response as of this day. Interesting enough, and bordering on grounds of discrimination, the public request filed by the Columbus Dispatch was honored, according to an article which appeared last week, indicating that approximately 24 or less emails were sent between you and former Superintendent Dixon from January 2023 to present. The question remains, At what point is this board going to be honest and transparent with this community, a community that elected you? The district will always have a dark cloud looming over the district. We had the data scrubbing many years ago, and now we have lack of transparency with the community regarding the $250,000 taxpayer monies that was paid to the law firm to conduct a search, contract with a communications company, and an engagement firm. Lastly, I understand that there is a Zen cubicle here where staff here can go and relax. It might be best to utilize this in the schools. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, President Watson. Our next speaker is Monica Gabriel, topic end of year report. Action, I would like the board to remind all staff and administration of their current contract obligations and policies they need to follow. Ms. Gabriel, are you here? She is not here. Our next speaker is Deshaun Walker. The topic, lack of social media. Action requested, I would like the board to show more presence on social media. Good evening, Mr. Walker.
Good morning, board. Dr. Chapman, Vice President Vera. It's nice to see familiar faces on here today. I wanted to bring out some key points that I kind of looked into. When I go on TikTok, when I go on different social media platforms and I look up CCS, it's not something that sparks my interest. It's not something that is good to the eye. It is something that doesn't look too good. Like the president of NAACP said, a dark shadow, a dark cloud on CCS. But I think this can be avoided, and I think we can turn it around. And I think we can do it starting literally tomorrow. The presence of CCS I see on Facebook is fancy pictures and everything looking nice. But the CCS in our schools, we have so much more to offer. Walnut Ridge itself came up with a Cultural Diversity Day, that every culture gets to show their appreciation in our school. That should be on social media. That should be shown to everyone to show the beauty in our schools, not just of public figures like the board or Dr. Chapman, but of the students, of what we do to bring our community together inside of the school. So I looked into President Adair after I met with her the first time, and there was a news video of you defending Dr. Chapman's predecessor. I feel like it would have been more sentimental if you had your own platform, if the board had its own platform where you could talk to the community itself. Because when you talk to the news, you're talking to the world. But when you talk to CCS, when you talk to your community on your own platform, you're talking to your community, not the world, not everybody, not covering up anything that may have been yes or no. You're talking to your community as your jobs, as your positions. That is what you are here to do. So that's why I feel like it is important that you need to come up with more social media ideas, show the students in the schools, show more appreciation to the community by coming together, not just having board meetings, but to be on your own profile, to be on your own social media account and tell them this is what's going on. If we have a problem in the school system, let us all as a community come together and talk about it. And I feel like that is very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And I'll go back just to make sure, is Monica Gabriel here? All right, we're going to go ahead into item 5, which is the Superintendent's Executive Report. Madam Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you all this evening. Tonight we have a special presentation on mental health. The importance of this topic, as you all know, that May was Mental Health Awareness Month, and as before we wrap up our board meetings for the summer, we certainly want to provide an update to all of our families about all of the resources that we currently offer in terms of mental health supports in our district, as well as the resources that will continue to be available to our students and staff over the summer. So we want our families to know that we are still with them over the summer, even though school is not in session, that these resources are still available to them. We want our families to know if there's a need and they are wondering who to call, those resources will be at their fingertips. And so at this time, I'm going to invite Dr. Sarah Bodie, our medical consultant, Amy Grover, our interim chief talent officer, Dr. Dion Blue, our chief of equity. These three leaders will be providing us with an update on where we are with all of our mental health supports in the district.
Good evening. Dr. Sarah Bodie, really excited to be here this evening. I'm guessing we're going to put up a presentation. It's okay.
Okay, I just got to ask, how are you doing with your 3 high schoolers?
Yeah, I have a rising senior, junior, and freshman.
I remember you saying that.
So as we talk about even mental health supports and getting across the stage, I have a new appreciation this year as I was watching all the graduates cross the stage. Like it's a journey, takes a village, it's an accomplishment. It's quite the experience to get through these 4 years. So I'm guessing the next 4 are going to be a little whirlwind in my house, for sure. But they're already on summer schedule, so they're
Lots of sleep.
Yep. No more 5:30 wake-up calls with packing lunches, so it's been great for me, too. Okay, this looks good. And then I guess I'll ask when he comes back in who helps advance the slides.
He can probably hear you.
Okay, he does. There we go. All right, thank you, everyone. Sorry for the delay, but we're really excited to be here tonight to just talk a little bit about, as Dr. Chapman mentioned, the importance of mental health. So we're going to go a little bit into the overview of this connection between education and health and why the focus here tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the mental health statistics that we see both nationally in our state and then in our county and in our community here. We're then going to really focus on what are our within district resources that we have that are just our existing capital and programs and people that are actually in our school district doing this work every day. We're then going to highlight some of the community partnerships that we have and give an example of one of those things that helps to improve access to mental health services for our students, go over some of the resources we have, and then, as we pointed out, think about specifically over the summer how students and staff can still access needed services. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the connection between education and health. And one of the things I want to start with is this quote, and we talk about this in healthcare quite a bit. Educational attainment is the societal factor that is the single greatest predictor of a person's health and well-being across the lifespan. That's a really important thing to say because not only do we talk about how kids need to be healthy to show up and ready to learn, but actually the work that our district is doing every day by getting kids their quality education and across, the finish line with graduation is also contributing to overall health and wellness. So, as they graduate from high school and get this quality education, it's creating better opportunities for health. And so what are some of those things that we think about as far as reducing risky behaviors, health promotion and health behaviors, better access to income, resources, all of these things actually contribute to the overall health and well-being across the lifespan of our students. Next slide. So one of the things that we know is that by getting across the finish line, you're really opening yourself up to all of these health factors and some things that you might not even think about. So actually, when we talk about students that are not getting that quality education and don't graduate, they actually have a higher risk of heart disease overall, a higher risk of obesity, smoking, diabetes, and mental health conditions, which is what we're going to focus on here tonight. You're less likely to have health insurance. So all of the work we even do in the education space is certainly one of the greatest predictors of health. And then in addition to that, we want to think about how we keep kids in school and healthy while they're students. Next slide. So what does that mean for us? And we know that as kids show up and are ready and are healthy and are learning, they're more likely to get across that finish line. And one of the things that we know is contributing to some of those barriers is mental health concerns. The American Academy of Pediatrics towards the end of the pandemic declared an emergency. A national emergency around children's mental health. And that was really related to what we saw that was a rising case of children that were identifying with mental health symptoms and mental health diagnoses. This didn't start with the pandemic. It was there before. The pandemic exacerbated it, and we're continuing to see the effects now. And so again, thinking about how we support that for our students is going to be critical as we move forward with those shared goals of quality education. Next slide. So thinking about the mental health in our community, let's just take a pulse of some of the things that we're seeing. One of the things that we know in the state of Ohio is that children are affected daily by their health. We know that 2 in 5 of our students, our school-age students in the state of Ohio, are living with a chronic condition, many of those related to mental health. And less than half of them have access to a regular medical home. So that means they don't have a regular physician or doctor that they're seeing, which is really important because it gives them that opportunity to access those services to get the supports we need. We also know that just like nationally, in the state of Ohio, we're also having increasing symptoms of depression, and 15.6% of high school students in Ohio reported that they had seriously considered suicide. So a significant percentage here. And in fact, in the state of Ohio, 1 in 6 students had enough symptoms, enough behavioral and emotional symptoms and impairment to be diagnosed with a childhood mental health disorder. So depression, anxiety, ADHD, those types of things that we're seeing every day in many of our school-age students. So this isn't something that's just happening to a select few. This is a significant issue that we're looking to address across our community. Next slide. If we delve even further into our communities and we think now about Franklin County instead of across the whole state, 2 things that I want to point out is that this isn't just affecting kids, it's affecting adults. So as we think about our teachers, our staff, our support staff, everyone that's working together in our school districts, is really important to also think about their mental health. And we know that in Franklin County, we, just like across the country, have seen an increase in symptoms and mental health concerns in adults as well. And that's a significant percentage even in that 18 to 25-year-old range, so our young adults. So this isn't something that's just about pediatrics. We need to be supporting our adults as well. Next slide. And then again, in Franklin County, we're seeing a similar trend as the state of Ohio with our high school students really, again, increasing percentages, and this is even pre-pandemic, around experiencing those persistent feelings of sadness or, again, thinking about or contemplating suicide. So we're seeing that trend. It's ubiquitous across our communities and in our local community here. Now let's delve further into what we see in our Columbus City Schools student population, and I just want to highlight 2 things. One is we talked about in the state of Ohio that access to a medical home. So those are families that are well connected, not just going occasionally to an urgent care, but are connected to a medical home where they have that trusting relationship. And we do have some data across Columbus City School region when we look at our children specifically that are enrolled in Medicaid across regions. Now this data is from 2019, so it's not our most current, but we're seeing a similar trend now. And so if we look at that, what we're seeing is that about 62% of our students are not up to date on their well care. So what does that mean? They are not regularly accessing that yearly well child check that we're hoping. And why is that critical to mental health? Well, when you're coming in to the physician to get that checkup, that's where a lot of this doors are open to really, again, do some screenings and assess and talk about what your mental health looks like. And so there's a gap there, and we're working hard to close that gap, and we're going to talk about some successes. When we poll our students and we ask them, what are your areas of concern as far as your mental health, this is what they tell us. So these are the top areas of concern for our students around some of the things that they're hearing about, seeing in their co-students and friends, or experiencing those symptoms themselves. And that's related to the things we see often around depression symptoms, anxiety, grief and loss. There were many of our families that were affected through the COVID pandemic that, again, just was on top of some other things that we're dealing with in our communities every day. PTSD experiences, ODD, and then ADHD. So this is what our students are also telling us are some of their concerns. And what about our staff? So our staff have the opportunity to also reach out to some support systems we have, and we'll highlight those. But when we look back in the past, calendar year of even 2023, again, these are the things that staff are accessing our services for. A lot of the same things. So thinking again about emotional symptoms, depression, anxiety, stress, grief and loss as well, some relationship concerns. So all of those same things that are affecting our children are also affecting our adults. So I'm going to actually have our colleagues come up too, and what we're going to focus on now, I started with the depressing part, sorry. But what we're talking about here is really just underscoring why we're here all today. And then what we're going to focus on now is what are our existing resources and where are we all moving the needle together to help support both our students and our staff across the district.
Thank you, Dr. Bodie. Good evening, President Adair, members of the board, Dr. Chapman. Our school district has a host of licensed professionals who support physical and mental health in our schools. For example, we have 65 licensed social workers who are often the trusted adult and watchful eye when students have stressors that need attention. Because of the support they provide, they often serve as the connection between home, school, and the larger community. This year, they have been especially focused on 3 areas: suicide, homicide, and student reentry. Columbus City has a Signs of Suicide partnership with Nationwide Children's Hospital, and this school year, that program occurred in 25 schools, including 8 elementary schools. Additionally, all CCS social workers completed an OSU homicidal youth course to provide insight and direction on assessing homicidal lethality amongst our youth. Finally, all school social workers have been piloting the use of a district-wide reentry form created in partnership with the Office of Student Services to help support the reentry of students after suspensions, expulsions, or hospitalizations. In terms of the Office of School Counseling, we have been able to hire 180 licensed school counselors this year. As you know, there's a lot that a school counselor does, but in terms of supporting student mental health, some of what they do is to provide social-emotional learning lessons in the classroom using an evidence-based SEL curriculum, as well as conducting small groups to reinforce SEL competencies. Finally, like our social workers, they're also able to conduct suicide risk assessments. The crisis response team is a team that you never want to need, but certainly they are an invaluable source and support in those tragic instances where someone in our Columbus City school family passes away. As you can see, there are 10 to 12 individuals, including the social worker and counselor team at the building, who will respond in these situations. That team has made themselves available at various hours of the day and night, as well as on weekends at times, to help staff and leaders process grief and plan support for staff or students. The incidents on this slide indicate only the events where the care team was called in. There have been other situations or deaths where the school or department used their internal support system and didn't need to call the care team for additional support.
The district has a robust set of resources and mental health supports available to staff. We are currently working on a video to send out early next school year so that all staff are ensured how to access the information that is out there. Courtney Hale is going to talk about the work that her team does in the wellness area. Thank you, Amy.
Good evening. So Columbus City Schools has partnered with a number of resources to provide emotional supports for our staff members. Headspace is, for educators, is free to all staff regardless of classification. Through science-backed meditation and mindfulness tools, the Headspace app helps you create life-changing habits to support your mental health and find a healthier, happier you. Headspace is proven to reduce stress by 14% in just 10 days. It can also help you relax your mind in minutes, improve focus, and get the best sleep ever. We also have mindfulness and movement. So it was formerly known as Urban Zen, and it's a 30-minute online class that's free to all of our staff members. I actually felt a little overwhelmed today at about 3:30, not about this presentation or anything, but at 4 o'clock, I decided to log into the mindfulness and movement. I closed my door, had my leg up on a chair, and 30 minutes later, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. So it definitely works, and it's also available to everyone, including our board members. So we definitely encourage you all to, participate. The instructor guides you through gentle mindful movements, restorative postures, body awareness, and breath observations to address the symptoms of everyday life. All right. We also have the United Healthcare Emotional Support Line. Just for a frame of reference, about 7,000 of our employees are actually enrolled in the United Healthcare Medical Plan, but it's actually available to everyone, whether you are a UHC member or non-member. It is completely free and available. Our benefits administrator offers an emotional support helpline for anyone regardless of medical benefit enrollment status. Professionals are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to connect people to resources. We also have Talkspace, which is only available to United Healthcare members, but Talkspace is a really unique app that provides free services to our United Healthcare members. With Talkspace, you take a brief assessment and that assessment is used to match all of our employees to a mental health provider within 48 hours. We also have a great self-care app called Able2 that provides free services for UHC members. You can get access to self-care techniques, coping tools, meditations, and more anytime and anywhere. All right. We, as the Employee Wellness Team, partnered with Wellity and received the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation grant supporting 42 schools and also 65 educators. As a part of the SEL Plus Mindfulness Institute, staff attended virtual classes to learn strategies and implement mindfulness lessons for students. So we're always training to make sure that our employees have the tools needed and necessary to do their job effectively and efficiently. The Employee Wellness Team will also be sponsoring 3 seminars during the Professional Development Summer Institute. Those 3 seminars are going to be an EAP seminar on work-life balance, everyday mindfulness and movement, and also creating a positive climate and culture. And for a frame of reference, there will be about 2,000 participants, so we'll definitely be reaching a large audience at that institute. All right, I'm going to shift a little bit and talk now about our EAP, which we have spoken to the board before previously about, but want to just reiterate the amazing benefits that are available. So Columbus City Schools offers an employee assistance program to all employees regardless of classification through Health Advocate. The Health Advocate has over 62,000 licensed professional counselors nationwide to assist our employees during times of crisis. Health Advocate also supports work and life issues by helping members in locating resources to better balance their work and life responsibilities, including finding childcare, elder care, providing a toolbox for financial wellness, and also connecting to legal support, and also discounts that are available. And then finally, Health Advocate supports the district when critical incidents occurs. Licensed counselors are engaged through Health Advocate to support the emotional and mental health of employees impacted and affected by critical incidents. The district negotiated 75 hours of critical incident support as a part of the contract with Health Advocate, with the ability to roll over up to 20 unused hours into the following year's contract. And to ensure that our employees are able to maximize this benefit and to ensure the efficient process, the wellness team has partnered with the care team to streamline the coordination of support, which starts with a strong partnership with building and department leaders to be a support to them as well as the employees that they serve. I'd also like to quickly pivot for a quick moment to talk about the mental health first aid certification. So on January 12th of this year, 12 employees from the talent department who were identified as employees who deal with sensitive employee issues received training and certification as mental health first aiders through United Healthcare. Members from labor management and employee relations, time management team, formerly known as leave of absence, and our employee benefits team spent the day learning ways to identify mental health issues, how to respond effectively, and what resources are available for supports. Our goal is to provide this training to all supervisors to arm them with the tools necessary to support their employees during times of need and/or crisis effectively.
So I think what you're seeing here is that, first of all, the district itself has a significant investment in staff. And we just talked about over 250, full-time staff members that are supporting student mental health within the district. And then again, all of this support we have for both our staff, not only for themselves, but then again in supporting their students. So a really robust infrastructure that, as I do this work around the state and around the country, doesn't always exist in school districts. So I just wanted to acknowledge that that's already, again, laying this tier 1 groundwork for our students and staff with supports. We're going to talk just briefly a little bit about some of the community partnerships that we also have, because of course we're not doing this in a silo, that we're partnering with all of our community experts that work in this mental health space as well. So we have several organizations that work with us providing mental health services to kids where they are all day in school. So that's really incredible because it helps to break down some of those barriers. So as many as of you know, when you're trying to access mental health services anywhere in our community and communities across the country, you're often met with difficulties with completing the process, with wait times. And so one of the things that we have done is partner with all of these organizations across our community to come into our schools and provide those services on site. So these are some of our organizations that we partner with that do great work for many of the students across our district, and so you can see that list there. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about one partnership we have around our on-site, school-based health centers. So again, these are those full doctor's offices inside schools and what that means for children with mental health. So within Columbus City School District, we have 12 school-based health centers, so those full doctor's offices inside schools, as well as 2 mobile units that travel around to additional school sites. Why am I mentioning this? Well, one of the things we talked about was how access to care is so critically important. And we put up that statistic about how we have a gap. So we have many of our students that aren't accessing that regular well child care, which can be a really important component as we're screening for these mental health conditions. And so the goal of these school-based health centers is to reconnect kids and families back into this medical home. And absolutely, we provide primary care services, and that's where those screenings happen. Just in the last school year, that included almost 10,000 visits, 10,000 unique students that were served across the district. So this isn't just serving a few, it's serving many that aren't accessing that medical home to close that gap. And then out of that, what we're seeing is what those statistics tell us. many of these students that we're seeing are identifying mental health concerns. So out of all of the students that we're seeing for these services, over almost 4,000 of those are identifying a mental health need. So this is critically important because that's how we identify the issue and then help connect to services. Many of these come from referrals from that staff within the school district that are doing this great work, know the students well, are connected to them, and can identify a concern and refer them in. So this is diagnosis and treatment for ADHD, anxiety, depression, referrals to all those groups we just showed for counseling services. So this is really an integrated approach to really think about how we put all hands on deck for these students. Next slide. One of the things that we're particularly proud of is we developed over the past year a new model that really looks at how do we ensure that when we're getting these students not only in for primary care, we're able to serve the full spectrum of mental health services needed for these students. Again, if we're seeing a student identifying a concern, referring them out to an external partner, as many of you, as you know, that often might be 6 months before they get an appointment. Well, that doesn't work, right? People are in crisis, these students have needs, and we've got to address them quickly. So in addition to these primary care mental health services, we actually have a new partnership now where we partner with our psychiatry department at Nationwide Children's as well. And so as we're bringing kids in and we're identifying their needs, if we're identifying that they have a significant need, let's say they have persistent symptoms of depression and suicidality or other concerns with psychosis symptoms or other more significant mental health needs, well, then what we can do at this point is telepsychiatry. So still come right back to that school-based health center, down from class, into the doctor's office. Our provider is there. The parent is either comes in person or is remoted in, depending on their schedule. The psychiatrist is remoted in, and we're completing that visit right there and doing ongoing care. This has been incredible. It has reduced the wait time to access our psychiatry department for our CSAS students by over 4 months. So now they can get in, get access to services, and this has grown over the past 2 school years and is really serving a large number of our students now across the district. We also have a transportation model now where we can bring students from other schools if they don't have that school-based health center at their site to access these services. So this is district-wide. So this has been an incredible partnership. We've seen out of those near 10,000 students, over 70% of those students had not had a well check in well over 18 months, many of them several years. And then again, of those accessing these services, almost half are identifying this mental health need. So we're getting to that gap that we talked about in the beginning. So we're going to talk for a minute now about some additional community resources we have from the group, and then go through our summer supports.
So our list of community resources, slide. It's just it's a list of either phone numbers or text lines that you can call across the community. So it's not just for our students, but it's community-wide. And actually, Dr. Bodie may even be able to say more about some of these, but there are some that are also a national, like the Trevor Project, that is, a number that you can access at anywhere. And go to the next slide, please. So that we have a suicide prevention hotline, Buckeye Ranch, which we talked about earlier, Dr. Bodie talked about earlier, if you need to be seen immediately. So these are just some resources in our community that are available, not just during the school year, but also during the summer. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think I covered it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do we have to do it?
And so now what we're going to talk about just real briefly to close it out is not only what do we have during the school year, but what's happening over the summer. And so summer engagement is an important component for this because as Dr. Chapman mentioned, school's out, but mental health needs don't stop at that time. So our care team support that we highlighted earlier is available through the summer. Our on-site school-based health centers are also available and open over summer hours. You can see the sites there that are open, so they serve district-wide, our students and communities there. And so again, if we're having any of our students, their siblings, family members identifying some of these concerns, they're welcome to come in. So again, we want this access to remain, and many of our students that are under our care are continuing those follow-up visits right through the summertime as they access us as their medical home. And then we have our summer wellness toolkit.
Thank you. So, again, as we talk about supports over the summer, the Employee Wellness Team provided a summer wellness toolkit to all staff members within our June wellness newsletter. This information is also available on our wellness website. If you go to ccsoh.us, navigate to staff, and then go to wellness, all of those resources are available on demand to any and everyone. So just to go over a couple of things that we are providing over the summer for our employees, we provided a summer health checkup to-do list where employees were given a checklist to help them prioritize their health over the summer. We also are doing a 100 miles in 100 days challenge starting on June 9th. And the goal is to get into the habit of walking a mile a day. But as long as you walk a total of 100 miles in 100 days and you complete the challenge, you'll be considered a participant. We ask that you register and then download the app to track your steps. And again, this is just creating a sense of community. So while we're not necessarily focusing directly on the mental health piece, there's that community social piece that, we're focusing on with that. We also have a passport to Metro Parks. So being in nature allows us all to slow down, pay attention to different things, and let go of the stress. Even a short walk in the park or through your neighborhood is a great way to breathe in the fresh air and gain many other health benefits of being outside. This summer, visit our city's Metro Parks and check out the Passport to Metro Parks program. You can get your park passport stamped for each Metro Park, and if you fill up your entire passport, you also get a T-shirt for participating. We also have our Volleyball Summer League that's coming back, along with a new rec sport league for disc summer golf. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that, but it's kind of like Frisbee golf, really fun. A lot of people are excited about it. But again, just continuing to support the community, during the summer. We also have free health coaching with Nurse Grace. Nurse Grace is also a mental health first aid responder, so she is available to support our employees that might need that additional help, and she also is willing to do that in person, and she does travel, so that is wonderful. We also have our summer mindfulness and movement classes, of course, our Health Advocate EAP, summer volunteer opportunities through Point, which is something that we launched this year, Headspace for educators, which we talked about, our emotional support line, Talkspace, and Able To. All right, and we will now turn it over to the board for questions.
Just a couple of comments before we dive into the questions. First of all, team, thank you for sharing these resources. First off, I'd like to say, as educators, we have long known that we are usually the first line of defense for our students when it comes to mental health. And certainly, we are also well aware of the research and the impact of mental health on learning and achievement. And so just to connect this back to our board goals, as a board, we have set very ambitious board goals. We have also set guardrails. And when we look at our guardrail prioritizing a whole child focus, we want you to know that not only are we attending to the academic needs of our students, we are also attending to the mental health needs of our students. And that's how we get at educating the whole child. And to all of our students, if you're watching tonight, please know that you are not alone over the summer. If you are struggling with mental health challenges, please reach out to us. We will connect you with lots of the resources that we have internally as a district or with community resources. So as a community, we are still here with you, and we will continue to support you over the summer. Certainly to our staff, I think we have some homework assignments. We can log in to the Headspace app over the summer. We can join the 30-minute mindfulness and movement classes. We can certainly print off or use your app for the summer health. I would print it out for me and I would check it off. But the summer health checkup to-do list, that's something that we can all commit to doing over the summer, no matter what role we play in, or what role we serve in CCS. And we can join the 100 Days Challenge. So, Courtney, I'm going to make sure that you help us make sure that our team is signed up for these homework assignments and make sure that we engage in these practices, because as educators, we cannot pour from an empty cup. And when we think about how we are best positioned to support our students, which we serve, we have to make sure that our cup is full. So that means we have to take care of ourselves. When you're on the plane, they say put your oxygen mask on first before you assist a minor or your child that's with you. This is our opportunity to make sure that we take time to press pause over the summer and take care of ourselves and attend to our own mental health needs, so that we can be better positioned and primed to be of support to our students either over the summer or when they return. Because we know that this work is ongoing. As Dr. Bodie said, even though school is out, that does not mean that our work in this area as mental health is done. It's never done. It's a journey. And so we certainly wanted to make sure that we took the time to share the resources and the efforts that we are making as a district to support the needs of the whole child in alignment with our board guardrail, as well as priority number 1 of our strategic plan. So team, thank you, and stick around just a few minutes. We may have some questions from board members to continue the conversation.
Okay, we will start with Board Member Cole.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. All right. Thank you so much for this presentation and the information that's come forth from it. I also appreciate, because I had a couple questions about what the participation rate is amongst our staff and even our children. So thank you for that on the children's side. Are we seeing, first question, great participation from the staff regarding these resources that have been made available to them?
I definitely think that we are seeing an increased participation. We absolutely track our participants, and we, just track the participation levels, and we are definitely seeing an increase. And I think, and Jackie Broderick-Patton is back here, our wellness coordinator. She and her team have done a phenomenal job with just increasing the communication to our employees. And it's not just sending an email, because we know that we have groups of employees that don't necessarily read their emails all the time. For instance, at the bus compound, we put up large monitors so that we could push messaging out to those employees that we know, some of our bus drivers don't even know that they have email addresses. So we're finding really unique ways of communicating a lot of these challenges, a lot of the resources that are available. And also, as Amy said, we're starting to use videos a lot more. And hopefully you guys have seen some of them, but we're utilizing those videos to, again, try to capture people that maybe aren't, maybe might be missing an email. So we can get you those participation rates, after the meeting.
Well, please let people like me continue to know how we can personally be beacons of information and encouragement for all of our employees. I'd definitely love to help spread this message amongst our classified employees. We'd love to do that. So let me know how it can be helpful.
Awesome, thank you.
Question number 2 is around scalability of this. So some of the staff supports that we put into place that are largely virtual, that seem virtual, is this available to be scaled out even to our student and family population in some sort of way? For example, the Zen, piece that you guys are doing with the mindfulness and that kind of presentation, that kind of experience. Is this something that can also be scalable to families and our children, our students?
Yes, of course, absolutely. And we didn't highlight all of it tonight because there's so much to talk about, but we have a whole student wellness curriculum too, which is built into a lot of those SEL supports that we have and with our wellness team. So it's not just geared towards staff, but messaging for students and resources as well. And it looks a little bit different sometimes for students because sometimes stuff we think is cool and we like, they don't. So have to, sort of be aware of that. But again, we can get you more information in a follow-up about all of the work we do on prevention with students as well.
I'd love to see that. And my closing question is around the presentation on the website. So the staff website identifies these services as wellness. The student side identifies it as behavioral services. Can we make the change to accommodate wellness as the identifier on that side also? I think that there should be some commonality there. I think that this is beyond behavioral services for children. You presented information to us tonight that shows this is a public health issue, that wellness is a public health issue, an initiative that we've aggressively taken on. Can we call this wellness and assign maybe behavioral services as some sort of subcategory, but can we make it an easy identifier for children and their families on the website? Instead of calling it behavioral services, we call it wellness.
Yes, we can certainly address that, Board Member Cole. And to your point, our U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Murthy, called the increase in youth mental health needs the defining public health crisis of our time, and underscored that kids' mental health has taken a hit, certainly as they turn to social media more often and at younger ages. This increased use of social media has led to more feelings of isolation, stress, inadequacy as they constantly compare themselves to others. It also keeps kids awake at night, well into the night, when they should be getting much needed rest, and makes it harder for young people to focus. So under that, just thinking about that, this is well more about, not just about behavior. This is about mental health of everyone in our ecosystem, but particularly we want to be attentive to the needs of our students because we recognize that what they're experiencing now is significant, right? And then the CDC recent report also documented similar concerns for our teens and the teenage population post-pandemic, and even more so for our young teenage girls. And so we certainly want you all to know that we are mindful of this, and we are making sure that we have the resources and supports in place to address and meet the needs of the whole child. We know that if we are not able to meet the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then there will be challenges with the academic needs, right? So we have to look at and make sure that we are being responsive to the needs of the whole child.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
President Vera.
Thank you, President Adair, and thank you, team, for this report. Really, really great work. I have a few questions here. I guess my first question is in regards to, I recognize all the external partners we utilize as part of how students can reach out for support. Is there an internal tool that if our students didn't feel comfortable going to a teacher or an administrator, is there a tool that we are capturing this same information? So if I'm a kid in 10th grade, I don't feel comfortable going to my teacher, do we have a QR code, a link, something that they can fill out and it gets populated? Like, how are our kids able to communicate with us if they don't feel comfortable going to a teacher directly, or they don't feel comfortable using a third-party partner?
So one thing I will say is our partners that we have in our districts are often, the students are identified by our internal teams often that then are referring into those community partnerships, because you're right, a student may not be comfortable just going into, an outside partner to identify those. And then how they address that internally is in multiple different ways. So absolutely, certainly, it might be the student coming to a teacher, a peer, another staff member. But one of the things we think about, for example, in the Signs of Suicide program is really about teaching everyone in the community of how to be reaching out to students that they are identifying might be, having some symptoms or seem like they're withdrawn a little or not having a great day, and what's going on and can I help you, with then a clear plan of how they access those services. Also, students can self-refer, and that can be done quickly. It's not a QR code, but it can be done without a lengthy conversation. So accessing into those primary care services or mental health services can be as simple as just a stop by with a quick note of I'd like to see someone. So we try to make it as accessible as possible, and I think that's really important. I will say I think our students lead the way on this. They embrace this, right? So to your point, I think, Board Member Cole, we have students that say, absolutely this. We already destigmatize this. We know what's going on, and we're helping each other, and we're building that community. So you're right, we need to catch up in our language and on our sites, our websites, and those other places. But I do think the students are often the ones that are helping each other to say, hey, it's okay, let's just go talk to someone here.
Thank you. And then my next question is in regards to, I know the data you mentioned is a little bit older in terms of data. Are we presently in the process of tracking anything from this particular school year as it relates to mental health incidents or anything? Are we presently tracking that? Because I think you said 2019 is what this data is reflective.
Yeah, so that data was just because it's all county, and so by the time they aggregate that, on a public health level, but we actually track our internal Columbus City School student population much more closely than that. So we track all of the services that they're, accessing as a whole, and all of those partners to really understand what's the incident of identified mental health concerns. Who are we getting connected, who's not getting connected. So that's real-time data that we do, actually month to month even.
Okay, great. And then my other question is in regards to translation services for families who need support. Can you talk a little bit about just what are we presently doing to help families who might need some kind of interpreter to navigate these resources?
Yeah. So I can tell you when they access the resources themselves. So as a student and family members, in joining that process, access mental health resources. So whether that's through a community partner or an internal resource that's on site, there are interpreters that are either live interpreters or through a system. Different with every partner, but whether that's like a Cisco system and it's a video interpreter that's available. And then we do have translation services just like we do for all of our materials in education. We also have those available for all of the health materials. So as we're sending out information around mental health awareness resources, we have that in those top languages.
Right. And then my last question, I know you mentioned earlier all of the great support opportunities for our staff. And I guess my question is relating to how do we identify if our staff is needing the support? So I know these things are readily available, but is there, when we're collecting data or we're doing our different surveys and things of that nature, how do we know what our staff need or what they're dealing with?
Yeah, I think that's actually a wonderful question. Our staff and our wellness team communicate pretty frequently with one another. We actually have an open door policy or open email policy that basically says if there is programming that you're interested in, let us know. We will take a look at it, and dive into it. And if it's something that is viable, then, we'll definitely try and do it. So I think that, over the course of 11 years, Jackie, that the wellness team has been in place, we have, been able to build these really unique relationships with our employees within the district. And so that's definitely, one way that we're able to identify, options that are available to them. Also, sometimes it comes just from district initiatives and saying, okay, as a district, this is, the direction that we're moving towards. And as a wellness team, how can we support, those initiatives? So,
Thank you.
Yes.
Board Member Beckerly.
This is all wonderful, wonderful work. And thank you for all the work that we've established in infrastructure and strategies. But I'm going to push a little in the sense of let's keep our eye on baselines. Let's figure out what's working. And let's pay a close attention to outcomes, precisely because this is so critical. And we don't want to be spending time doing something that we think is going to work and finding out that's not working. We need to be pivoting based on what the data is telling us. And it could just be that, it's a great idea. We need to communicate it differently. But I just really, this strikes me as part of the culture we're trying to create is this outcomes-focused culture. And it's every bit as true for this as it is for our goals and guardrails. And this is such critical work. So, as much as I loved hearing all of this, and I'm incredibly impressed at all the work you've done and the structures that are in place, really what's important, especially at the board level, is what's working, what isn't, what's the progress. And so I think, going forward, let's make sure we're focusing on that. And to that end, and Dr. Bodie, I'm struck by you saying that relative to other places you've worked in other systems, we have a robust infrastructure. Because I'm sitting here thinking it's not nearly enough. And so I think getting back to how critical this is and what a time we are in history and the mental health crisis and the Surgeon General, whoever it was who said it, 65 social workers, that's not one for every building, And so if we need to find a way to get more, just because we're doing it better or we're relative to others, we're good, I don't know that that's really the secret sauce. And so please, let's think about what we really need at this moment and, push us to find you the resource. I know that part of the answer is there's nobody out there to fill the jobs, but either way, let's not use that as our yardstick as much as what's really needed, and then, come back to us and ask for the resources, and it's incumbent on us to find them for you.
And I'll just name that as a part of one of our guardrails in the monitoring process, we will have data. We do have data.
Fair enough.
Related to how we're tracking and monitoring what's working in the data. Certainly, as you know, our Panorama survey captures the feelings and perceptions of our students as well as our staff, and we have that data over time.
Yeah.
And so that is another metric in addition to the health indicators and the data that Dr. Bodie talked about that is captured by our medical team. Yeah. We also have the feelings and the perceptions data that's captured in our Panorama survey. So we can certainly make sure when we get to that guardrail as a part of the monitoring calendar, we'll make sure that that information is highlighted.
Well, and I also think that this is where, we can even become more sophisticated and triangulate it. Like, so if you're seeing increased usage of the mental health facilities and either a certain student, because I know you can get the Panorama down to classrooms and students. Are we seeing increased wellness too? It kind of, there's ways we can become really sophisticated at pinpointing it. Because I think part of what I worry a little bit about the Panorama data is that we're not going to be able to figure out exactly what's contributing to it unless we're paying attention. So if we see an uptick in that, we're not going to be sure whether it was our mental health or, whatever it was. So I think that there's, more than one data point to figuring out what's working, even if it's a survey of the people we're serving. Did you, I don't know what it is, but I know that there's ways we can be really smart about figuring out what's working and what isn't, and also what additional resources we need and maybe some ways to get them.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I want to echo Board Member Beckerly's comments and really focus on pushing us in the district to create processes. I think it's very great that we are collaborating with community partners, but for me, when I speak to students who have attempted, and we have not quickly connected them to a therapist in their community that reflects their rich diversity, that's a process issue to me. If we can identify wellness providers that reflect the culture, be that racial, ethnic, language, religion, there's so many different levels on which wellness providers are providing the types of services that can connect to our students and cultures. I would love to see us connecting with more of those partners, and I would love to see us really looking at the process. How long is it taking our building administrators to respond when a student indicates that a family member passed? How long is it taking them to get connected to those resources? Are our families finding it difficult when it comes time to take time off of school to attend the wake, the service, to sit, right? Because different communities have different time lengths at which the student has to sit and kind of be in grieving and mourning. And so I'm very interested in what we are doing to advance those processes. And I think our board would greatly appreciate a presentation around that. Like, how quickly are we responding to the wellness needs of our students, our staff, and our community in general when these things happen in such a way that is culturally competent or at least culturally sensitive?
Can I just ask one quick question?
Okay, one quick question.
And actually, it's not to the team. It's I think, Dr. Pierce, would you be amenable to not, rather than a presentation, just getting that data presented to us?
So, one, I think it would be very useful for the community, because to this point, I want to echo what Board Member Cole said. How accessible is it for our families to find wellness information through our district resources, whether it be our website, and really where my mind went to was our student handbook. There's pages in there that students have to sign, that parents have to sign. Wouldn't it be great if there was a page in there that had our wellness resources should your family experience death during this school year? Here's the numbers that you can call within the district and immediately learn what our policies are for absences. If your child has a mental wellness issue, here's a number, here's an email that you can contact, and both the student and the parent are signing off on that. To me, that's powerful. Like, that's the processes that we should be getting at.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree with any of that at
Yeah.
all. Those are great ideas. I guess I'm just suggesting that maybe we don't need another presentation. We could just close the loop through email or, some other way that doesn't take up board time.
I think it'd be valuable for the community to hear that information. Oftentimes, we get it in a silo and the community doesn't hear it.
I know, but I don't know that
Well, we'll
presenting
figure
to
that
the
out.
board is the best way for the community to get anything. I think there's other ways.
Yeah, and I just don't want to underscore the fact that when our students and staff are in crisis, we have a crisis team that responds immediately. And I know that just my personal experience, when I am in crisis or when I've had a crisis in my life, it's not the technical pieces that I'm looking for. We can certainly adapt that, we add those pages, but it's really about the relationships. I'm calling on my network, my system of support, and saying, I need help. And they're figuring out who to call to support me during those moments of challenge or crisis or trauma. And so I want to make sure that in this conversation, we are elevating the resources that we have, not only for when you need them, so that we can be of service to others when we know someone else is saying that they need these resources. We know how to help them and direct them and be the guide on the side. And again, the headline here for our students and our families right now in this moment and throughout the summer is that you are not alone. And I want to make sure that they get that message. We all know about the resources that we offer, and that those resources will continue to be available to our students in our community through the summer. And we will continue to help streamline our messaging, whether it's on the website, handbooks, and so forth, to make sure that these resources are a part of our documents, our resources, our toolkits. Courtney talked about a summer toolkit for staff. We can even have summer toolkits for students, but we'll continue to refine the processes, and we thank you certainly for your feedback.
Member Reyes has a quick question.
Maybe a real quick comment and just a question. So thank you for the presentation. My organization works with the Latino Mental Health Navigator System and doing some of these processes on trying to get individuals who are culturally and bilingual, and I know how tough that is. Just as a form of reference, in all of Franklin County, there's only 6 Spanish-speaking counselors. and not all of them are Hispanic. So it's a to the recruitment, I mean, putting that out there, you all were very nice and standing there and not responding to that, but as a person that does this work on an everyday basis, it is a very difficult job to find social workers, and then find social workers that work in this space is even more difficult. It's like, I don't even know if I want to say a needle in the haystack. It's a very difficult for that. In the second piece that I'm shocked you didn't respond to is that the mental health space is continuously changing. So working in the Latino Mental Health Navigator program, as soon as I find a counselor, that counselor is gone within a week or 2 weeks for a burnout, for the hospital system takes them, or they move out of state. So as we look at what data is accessible, I know that 211 Lutheran Social Services is attempting to keep a active list, and so is Adam H., to ensure that we have somewhat 1 or 2 resources that are fully dedicated as those people move and change. I mean, this is an everyday, as soon as we get somebody, they're gone. As we present this, understanding the wait system. So I'm very impressed at the fact that we have on-site, because if they went through the other channels, right now we're seeing 6-month to 9-month wait for any individual looking for mental health or behavioral health issues in the community, and they keep getting longer as we lose individuals. There are areas in our city where there are health buses or mobile buses. Are we utilizing those? For example, in Valley View, we have Ohio Health, who's right there at the Y. Is that a community partner, or are we utilizing that type of partnership, not necessarily somebody who's on-site at our school?
Yeah, yes. So we definitely partner with additional health partners, Ohio Health being one, Mount Carmel. So we have a network of services. Actually, in our county, too, we're developing a mobile unit consortium that is going to actually have an app. I don't know if anybody's used the Street Food Finder app, but it's where if you want to know where a food truck is with a type of food, right, you can look it up on the app. Well, the developer of that app is partnering with us to do a similar thing for all of the mobile unit services for kids and adults across our county, so that we can then, again, have this system that's constantly getting updated every day about what's available, what services, and how to get connected. So those are examples of kind of unique solutions we're trying to find where we can get that quicker access. And yes, I would echo it's a challenge. But the on-site services we've been able to prioritize within the district, I mean, really have made a difference. So the time to student getting services after an identified need within our district can be weeks instead of months, and that's really been an incredible success story of that partnership.
And lastly, there are other organizations like the Our Lady of Guadalupe Center with the Mental Health Navigator that also has mobile clinics that come to their site, so ETTS, some of those other organizations. When I looked at resources up there, some of those diverse centers may be added to that list. I can definitely provide some of that information.
I would also like to add that from an employee standpoint, we also are utilizing those mobile clinics. So we'll be starting to deploy the mobile clinics to areas in our population that we've identified where, our employees maybe don't have a healthcare provider, or, we call them medically homeless. And so getting them out there to be able to go onto those mobile clinics and access healthcare during work is a really big deal for, certain pockets of our employees. So that's definitely happening. And then we also have the mobile mammography bus unit, and I was able to get my first mammogram on the bus this year, so I was really excited about that. But it's nice that, I'm able to do that during my work day. It's really quick, 20 minutes, and then I'm back working, but I'm, able to focus on my physical health, as well, so.
And I think it's important to let our community know that many of those mobile units have community health workers that help you fill out financial aid paperwork. So if money is usually, I can never say never, usually not a barrier to see in some of the, these are licensed professional primary care physicians in these units. So that's one of the deterrents. Sometimes people say, well, I'm not going because I can't afford it. They do work with you to ensure that affordability is not an issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Cole.
Thank you. I just wanted to be very, very brief. I wanted to share with you, Madam President, and my colleagues here and the staff that I value tremendously your presentations, that I value tremendously the work that you put together to give us a very clear, concise idea about what services, supports that we offer, and more importantly, moving forward, how we identify its impact, how we identify its significance. And that is very multidimensional. It is past. What are the lessons of it? What was missed? It is present. How are we addressing the moment? It is future. What do we know or need to know about how we do this better? Several things that you heard come through us. We can't know that if we don't know its impact on student outcomes. That is attendance. That is behavior. That is academics. Behavior-wise, that is culture and climate. Behavior-wise, that is sense of safety. So this is important to us. I want to encourage you to continue to come before us. When you're identifying supports, please, by all means, let us know where those dots connect to those things that impact our student outcomes. Thank you. Thank you again, Madam President.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
team.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, team. And President Adair, members of the board, in the superintendent's report for our next board meeting, we will be providing an update on board goal number 2, graduation. As you know, this past week was filled with end-of-year celebration ceremonies and graduation ceremonies across the district. And once we're again finalizing that data, and at our next meeting, we will be providing an update on board goal number 2, as well as previewing for you our new process for supporting, monitoring, and tracking our process for school opening. So I know that'll be top of mind for us as we recess our board meetings for the summer. So just wanted to let you know that's what you can expect as a part of the superintendent's report in our next board meeting. But thank you again for your feedback during this conversation, and we'll continue to keep mental health awareness and the supports top of mind for us and our community.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. We'll go ahead and move down to item 7, which is our treasurer's report. We have our deputy treasurer, Ben, over here. Hello.
Good evening. I don't have a formal report, but I did have a couple of items I wanted to highlight for the board. First, our FAC meeting for June is scheduled for next Wednesday on the 14th at 4 p.m.
Woo, Marshall.
Oh. And it will be here at 3700. Second, the Senate sub-bill was released today between 2:15 and now. It's roughly 7,713 pages that we get to peruse and figure out what we need to pull from that that's relevant. But some of the highlights that we have pulled just from the information that was released. Senate Bill 1 was rolled into the budget bill. So I'm assuming you all know what that is, but that is greatly reducing or adjusting the role of the State Board of Education. As it relates to the funding formula, the 22 cost sets were included, so that is a plus. The phase-in was also included, yet another plus. The one impact that we're still evaluating is they made a modification to the calculation of the local wealth capacity, which impacts a small portion of our funding formula. And again, that's one of those things that we've already got Jordan looking into it, and we'll further analyze its impact to us and be able to report back on that, hopefully, potentially at the next FAC meeting with more details as we kind of dig into that. And just as a point of reference, Friday is the deadline for any amendments that need to be submitted for the omnibus amendment. So anything that we want to be able to push back to try to get included in that, Friday is the deadline for that. So that's essentially all I have.
Thank you. Chair Cole, do you have anything?
No.
All right.
Well stated.
President Adair, just wanted to remind everyone, too, that all of the board members should also have in their email, as of right now, an update on the budget update from our lobbying consultant as well.
Yes, thank you. All right, we're going to move into item 8, notice of public hearing on reemployment of retired employees, 8.1. Notice of public hearing on reemployment of William Marshall. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3309.345, the Columbus Board of Education gives notice that William Marshall, who retired from the Columbus City Schools effective May 29, 2020, is seeking employment with the Columbus City Schools as a physical education health teacher effective August 21st, 2023. The board will hold a public hearing on August 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at 3700 South High Street, Columbus, Ohio, on the issue of Mr. Marshall's reemployment. Item 8.2, notice of public hearing on the reemployment of China White. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 33.09.345, the Columbus Board of Education gives notice that China White, who retired from the Columbus City Schools effective June 3rd, 2022, is seeking employment with the Columbus City Schools as a dance teacher effective August 21st, 2023. The board will hold a public hearing on August 21st, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at 3700 South High Street, Columbus, Ohio, on the issue of Ms. White's reemployment. To item 9, consent agenda. This evening, our consent agenda consists of items 11.1 to 26.6. Are there any items a member would like to remove for separate consideration? Yes, Dr. Pierce.
16.2, 16.3, 16.4, and 16.5 are related to the WOSU renewals of licensures.
Okay, you would like to remove them for separate consideration, not just speak about them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she's made a motion to remove those, a request to remove those. Is there a second? That fails.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there items you would like to discuss? I'm assuming the same ones, Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, 16 point.
Well, I appreciate the responses that we received to the questions. I would like us to spend some time really talking or getting a presentation from the superintendent about the strategy around WOSU and how we intend to strengthen the student programming related to it and aligning it with our goals and guardrails.
And you mean WCBE? Clarify.
Sorry.
Yeah.
WC. I'm in OSU mode.
No.
I apologize.
Are there any other discussion on those particular items, 16.2 to 16.5? Board Member Beckerly?
I agree. I appreciated the answers too. I just, and to be really honest, I haven't analyzed them other than to see that there's stuff happening. So again, I'd just like to see data about student involvement, student outcomes, that lens applied to what we're spending this money on. There's lots of potential there. I just want to keep track of it. And, I'm going to say it again, how about a dashboard? I don't know that it needs to be the subject of this meeting as much as I just want to know that we can look somewhere and see, this many students participated, this many students got an internship, whatever it is, and just, that's it.
We can definitely consider whether or not the format of that update. Is it a board presentation during a board meeting? Is it a 2x2 conversation? Or is it a visit to WCBE? Certainly arrange for that. So we can certainly discuss that to make sure you have all the information that you need.
And what I'm also interested in is that Scott Varner had met with all of us, gave us presentations. Has that strategy changed? Is it still the same strategy, given that we have new individuals who are in our community engagement, understanding, of course, that this reaches beyond just our students and it impacts our staff and community members, but really want to know how the strategy has changed or if it has at all.
Are there other items from the consent agenda you'd like to discuss? Dr. Pierce?
17.3.
17.3
It relates to transportation.
That's the fire sprinklers.
No, 17.3. Relates to, maybe a 17.30.
30?
30.
That's to purchase window shades.
Did we change the numbering? 1713, yes.
13?
Yes, high school.
The
non-routine of buses. So on this list, we don't have any high schools listed. Was that an oversight, or I wonder if we should include that high schools might be having band or theater performances over the summer. So we have our elementary band and after-school programs, middle school after-school programs, but then we list Columbus City Schools after-school programs, but I just wonder, are high schools doing anything that's unique that they should also be included?
Rodney, are you able to respond to the questions about 17.13?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
If it's any after-school program, whether it's elementary school, middle school, or high school program over the summer, it's a non-routine use of the school bus, it would be covered. But we can add that verbiage if you would like.
That would be great. Can we add that verbiage? Because I don't know if after school, some high school stuff might happen during school hours. I don't know if it's considered routine because it's summer school. They technically wouldn't be in school. I would be safer by adding the language or just.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we need to parliamentarian, like, do we need to actually amend the resolution? Because it's a resolution that they have before us.
17.13.
What needs amended? Yeah,
In the list of bullet points.
We just add high school extracurricular activities.
Correct.
Okay.
If there's no objection to that amendment.
Okay.
As long as it's moved and seconded.
Okay, so is there a motion?
Motion to add high school extracurricular activities.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any objection? Seeing none, it will be amended. Any other items? Dr. Pierce?
17.16, request for the Board of Education to approve bus stops. This is a big one. We have discussed transportation this past school year numerous times. I have advocated to ensure that we have safe bus stops. And to this point, our board has not received a thorough information list on those bus stops, the review of bus stops, and so I wonder how comfortable do we feel as a board taking a vote to approve bus stops when we haven't really discussed transportation moving forward next year?
Board Member Cole?
Madam President, where I do understand the raise of concern, what I am concerned about on that is, does this lack of a decision on our part constitute an impediment on your part? And what it means is that there's a certain time that we actually have to get a transportation schedule out to families. And we want to be on schedule with that. We want to make sure that they're well aware of it. And moreover, we know that there are going to be even additional challenges to that because of either the transportation drivers issue, those challenges tied to that may change routes, or any other issues that extraneous to us that impact how we design and redesign routes. Can we move forward with this work today in a vote, but with the assurances that we're going to be flexible and mobile moving forward, and even more communicative to the board about how we're looking at safe designs around bus stops?
So first I'll have Rodney respond to 17.16 and provide additional context around this particular legislation and whether or not it is time sensitive that we review this item at this meeting versus the next meeting.
Yes, thank you.
It is time sensitive. This is typically the time frame that we would approve the bus stops for the next year coming up. In this case, the 23-24 school year. The bus stops that we are approving right now are the same bus stops we've had over the last few years. One thing we have done is we went and removed basically about 6,000 to 7,000 bus stops that were no longer active. The current list is about approximately 7,000 or so bus stops. They're all stops that are active throughout the school year, and we've deemed that they're safe stops. If there's an issue with a stop, we take that to consideration, and we actually send field supervisors out and compound supervisors to check those situations and make adjustments as needed.
Rodney, can you address board members' questions about, we can certainly provide a list of the 7,000 stops.
Which they did.
I think that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, no.
I think what you're asking for is our responsiveness to the feedback that we receive about whether or not a particular bus stop is safe or not. And my understanding is that that feedback is, when that feedback is received and you're responsive to it, it's addressed in the moment. But I would certainly defer to Rodney to share more context around that.
Can I follow up? Can I add one more thing to that for him to follow up on? Because we know that last year, just as an example, there were bus stops that were complained about that then we later determined might not been safe, and we did make adjustments. Do those still show up on the list?
Exactly.
Or have they been removed? And then, understanding that process, like you said, for how is it that we are determining or looking at stops to say, is this safe or not? What are those standards?
Oh, sorry,
Sure.
Rodney didn't hear the question that I had asked. Rodney,
Yes, ma'am.
I was asking if you could provide us with clarity on how we assess the current bus stops and respond to the concerns about safety, whether it's proactively what we're doing on our end, or if it's based on a concern that's brought to us from the community.
Okay. What we first base our bus stops on is based on the Ohio Administrative Code and what ODE and the guidelines they have in place to deem a school bus stop safe. We also have our own set of guardrails and guidelines that we go by that would deem a stop safe or unsafe. Throughout the year, when we receive a complaint about a bus stop, that's when we would send a field supervisor out to observe the stop, make any changes as we need, and then those changes are reflected within our software, and it won't go back to that position. It has to be physically put back on that other location. So once we've made the change to a stop or the adjustment to a stop, it stays in the system and is not changed back. It will not automatically revert. So the stops that you're seeing right now are the stops that may have been in question and has been repaired or replaced with a new stop and is no longer deemed unsafe or any of that, any nature like that. It's a safe stop. And what was the second part of your question again?
The factors, and you kind of answered it a little bit, the factors in which you determine if a stop is safe.
Correct. The factors we use are basically the ODE ruling and then our guardrails and guidelines that we have in place on a top of what the administrative code says.
Can you elaborate a little bit more, Rodney? What are those guardrails?
We have a lot of them. The 4-lane roads, we will not allow them to cross over 4-lane roads, which is one of the big things. There's a speed limits that we monitor that monitors the speed limits on the roads to be safe or unsafe. If it's below a certain speed limit, then we deem there's an option to have a crossover on it or not a crossover. We tend to work with the best way we can to not have any students crossing over roads that we deem that are not safe for that purpose. And then there's the half-a-mile radius that we have that students would have to walk to a bus stop. We try and consolidate as many as we can here within the last year due to the lack that we do have the driver shortage. So when we developed and eliminated some of the inactive stops that students hadn't been there for probably over the last few years, those were some of those stops where we made students that might have to walk a little bit further to a stop. There's some other characteristics. If we're made aware of situations within the neighborhood, we can do what we have at our best ability to relocate that stop to an alternate location for them. And then there's
Rodney, do we
I'm trying-
do we consider anything like around like road condition, like lighting or sidewalks when considering safety?
we try to take that into account. Unfortunately, we can only control about a 50-yard radius around a bus stop. But we are working with Vision Zero to address some of those things from the city of Columbus. And we've created a school bus safety bus stop safety checklist that we utilize. And anytime a new stop is developed, then we send someone out to look at that with the checklist in hand, and we deem it either safe or unsafe. If it's unsafe, then we'll find an alternate location within the area. And on situations like that, where the sidewalk may be damaged or there may be poor lighting or things of that nature, we'll try and work with the city to either have those improvements added, or we'll relocate the stop as best as we can to another area that is well lit and is a safe travel.
Rodney, can we share that school bus stop safety checklist so that we can all be aware of what we are looking for when we say a safe route? Because we may all be working from different definitions of what that means.
In addition to that, can I also request that based upon the emails and the responses that we got from family members, community members around bus stops last year, can we just run a check of that list to make sure none of those stops are back on this list of
Most definitely.
7,000?
Yes. And I can share that. I can't share that form right now, but I can share it to you and send you copies of it.
Thank you.
Rodney, I had just one quick question. In looking at the location, like there's some duplicate addresses in here. Is that by design, or I guess I want to I'm not familiar with this process yet. So the addresses that are in here multiple times, is there a reason for that?
It could very well be that we have elementary, high school, middle school. When we run the report for our school bus stops, if it's multiple stops at that location, it may repeat itself on the list.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other items members would like to discuss? Dr. Pierce?
So lastly, Board Member Brown, as well as Vice President Vera, and I have been working with district administrators to really look at our LEDE process. And so in our legislation summary, this meeting, I just want to applaud all the departments that increased those numbers, with administration services having 3, our community engagement piece had 0, so I was kind of worried about that to see if we can increase that. But our business operations had 9, facility management had 5, and then student services also had some. So I just wanted to applaud the work of our administrators working with Terry Weiss, Maurice Odom, and ensuring that we are increasing the number of LEDE providers that we are working with. And of course, in those areas where we're not seeing some of those providers come through, encourage our administration to continue to work on creating and building relationships with those providers. So we're continuing to increase that number throughout the district.
Yes, and I'll just also add, if I may, Dr. Pierce, we are working on a new strategy to make sure that we elevate the work of our LED program across the district. And so right now, previously, the way the work was situated in the operations team, which somewhat sent a signal to the entire organization that our LEDE strategy was specifically for operations. And so we're pulling that work out of operations, and we're transitioning it, in the process of transitioning it to the equity department, because we certainly feel as if it's more aligned with the work across the district, and ensuring, working with all of our chiefs and team senior cabinet level leaders so that they understand the board policy, the board expectations, and why this work is so important. And so we're continuing to revisit that strategy.
I think that's a great strategy, so I have one follow-up question. Will we still have individual LEDE champions in each unit to ensure that they're still kind of bringing this expectation to the table?
Yes, that's part of the work, because right now, again, we've kind of sent the signal, informally or formally, that the LED work is a strategy just for our operations team. And so when we pull that work out of the operations department and we infuse it with our equity work, it sends the signal that this is everyone's work across the district, and we will have champions in each department. We'll have lots more conversation to elevate this work across the district. So more to come on that, but thank you for acknowledging the efforts.
Thank you.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
there's one.
one more. Go ahead.
Yes, 23 point, I didn't forget, 23.1. This relates to our authorization for membership in OSHA. I want to give a disclaimer. In terms of my service on the Ohio School Board Association, I do serve on the OSHA committee. And so in these remarks, I am definitely advocating for our district in regards to the reprimand that was given to our young Lady Nubians over at Afrocentric following the state tournament, meeting and engaging with students throughout the district who continually tell me that when they go outside of the comforts of our district, they are disrespected, belittled, and treated with racial bias, discrimination from other districts, with little oversight, little to no reprimands being given to other schools and districts, that as we move to renew our membership, because we don't want to take away students' opportunity to participate, but that our board take a very strong stance in ensuring that OSHA knows that we are going to advocate and stand in the gap for our students, and we do not condone the treatment that our students have been shown.
I mean, those are, I would say our sentiments, especially in just recognizing that it's important that our students know we are advocating for them on all fronts, and certainly understand and appreciate the partnership and membership we've had with, OSHA over the years. But it's important that we do make it very clear that our students will and continue to be our priority.
And then the only other thing that I'll share is that we have a number of our students and our staff that are active in indoor track. I've talked to Dr. Chapman kind of offline about seeing how we can get that as a sanctioned sport within our district. Moving forward to make that a sanctioned sport will ensure that our district has taken the proper insurance out, that we are hiring coaches that will be working with our students, and it will provide our students with opportunities to go after additional scholarship dollars and training, definitely, and also impact their academic outcomes, because students will still have to maintain their GPAs and be scholar athletes. And so I look forward to, hopefully, when we pay this membership, it doesn't depend on how many sanctioned sports we have, but it's just that flat rate that we're paying.
Yeah, it's acknowledging the schools that will be members.
And so in that, that we acknowledge our schools, but knowing that hopefully we will expand the number of recognized or sanctioned sports within our district by including indoor track.
Thank you. Other comments on agenda items?
I think that was all.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
With the exception of 16.2, 16.3, 16.4, and 16.5, which is no, yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Vice President Vera?
Yes.
President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will now go into executive session. Vice President Vera has a motion.
I move that the Board of Education recess into executive session per Section 121.22 G4 Ohio Revised Code to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and per Section 121.22 G3 Ohio Revised Code to conduct a conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action, and per Section 121.22 G1 Ohio Revised Code to consider the appointment, employment, or compensation of public employees.
Thank you. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Vice President Vera?
Yes.
President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will now adjourn into executive session. We will return to this room to conclude our meeting, but that will not be televised. So thank you to all who are watching and to our staff who attended tonight. We will see you next time. We will take a short break before heading back, board members.